Hello, Husky Nation. Welcome to Beyond the Bench, a weekly series where we sit down with each of our head coaches at Bloomsburg University to get thoughts about their program, themselves, and what it means to be a Husky. This week's episode is sponsored by Honeysuckle Student Apartments. We would like to thank them and the rest of our corporate sponsors for their continued support of Husky athletics. I'm Dave Leisering, Sports Information Director here at Bloomsburg. Today's guest on Beyond the Bench is the head coach of the Huskies football program, Frank Sheptock. Frank, thank you very much for joining me here today.
Hey, Dave, happy to spend some time with you. Looking forward to sharing some time with the Husky Nation.
And we're looking forward to having some fun and getting to know Coach Sheptock. So, Coach, we'll jump right in. This has to have been a difficult time for you. You get hired in December, and then all of a sudden the pandemic hits. How have you been able to get acquainted with your student athletes and your coaches during this unprecedented time?
I think initially we really made, the most of, the first 5 weeks that we were together. I mean, that's really what we had from when, they came back with, having that meeting the very first time. We're sitting in Monty's, just trying to get acquainted. And, I thought the 5 weeks that we had together with morning workouts in the weight room, we got a lot accomplished from that standpoint, that we got a great foundation in regards to, trust and respect and interactions. And then obviously when we got shut down there a little bit, made it very challenging. And, being a first-year head coach, I think that's been the biggest challenge right now, is you're trying to get to know, as many people as you can, and, trying to make it as much of a silver lining as you can. So one of the positives with that, Dave, was that, when we were doing some of the position meetings while the campus was shut down, that I was able to be involved in every meeting. So, that part was neat, because that's something that you're normally not able to do, with everything going on simultaneously. So, the staff worked very diligently to try to, do things at a time where we could have a lot of people involved with that. That created a lot of, interaction. And then as we got through the summer and spring months, we did a lot with the boys where, hey, we had, John Wetzel on as a, guest speaker for the team, and, trying to get him exposed to some other things and create some conversation points, which, I thought went extremely well. We had Dr. McFarland on when, we had a meeting where the sole focus of the meeting was to grow closer together. As some of the things were going on in our society with, the racial injustice and some of the riots and things, and, had a powerful, 2.5 hour meeting with the team, Dave, where, guys are just opening up. And like, I was hoping that the meeting would last an hour, and, we were pushing 3 hours. And, the young men that reached out afterwards about, the impact that the meeting had, and, the closeness, that was growing back together because of, the openness of the team, was, some really neat stuff. And, obviously you're doing the Zoom thing, but, and then as we got back on campus, I was trying to get involved in as much of on-campus activity as we could, about whether it was setting something up for freshman orientation or, handing out masks, just to be able to be around the guys, is like a great thing, because that's, we haven't been able to do anything together. So the relationship part, has been very meaningful, to try to find ways to do that and have individual meetings. And you're talking with, young men on the phone and trying to find a way to, interact with them and learn them and earn their trust and respect. But, really feel that we've made the most of the situation, and think we're off to a great start.
What enticed you to apply for the head coaching position at Bloomsburg and ultimately become the 28th head coach in program history?
This destination job, Dave. I mean, once I got into coaching, this is where I wanted to be. Obviously, Bloomsburg had a very significant impact on my life, with the relationships that I had here, and not just, within the team, on the campus, and, people that made, a significant impact on me. And, to be able to come back and share that experience and be able to try to recreate that, was always a goal of mine, that, that if I could come back and be the head coach at Bloomsburg, like, hey, what's better than that? I mean, it's a place that, provided me with a great education, made me the man that I am today. Obviously the love of football, and be able to give back to the program, feel very, blessed, to have this opportunity, Dave, because, that's one of the things that is, you're trying to arrange, goals that you have in your life professionally. as well as personally, or are you going to have the opportunity? When the opportunity became available, I knew that I was going to, jump in and do everything that I could, and obviously, call in as many resources as I could to get their support, because this is some place that it was always very special to me, and continue to look forward to a lot more special years and being part of the institution.
You mentioned graduating from here. You played for the Huskies the early to mid 80s, helped Bloomsburg to their first ever NCAA postseason berth in 1985, taking BU all the way to the national semifinals that year. Talk about some of your fondest memories here at Bloomsburg and that Cinderella run in 1985.
Yeah, I tell you, you talk about the first ever NCAA appearance. The only thing that's on my desk right now, Dave, is about having the next NCAA appearance, right? But what a great time to be at Bloomsburg. I mean, Coach Landis had just taken over, new head football coach, and that's sort of a little bit of the surreal part for me right now, because when I came here as a student athlete, there was a new head football coach, and obviously a vision for the program, and the embracement of whether it's the community of the campus or the community in and of itself, as the program was starting to change a little bit, and everybody sort of jumped on. And like in 85, like I lived down on the other end of town, and like through every tree and on every street there was something about like, let's go Huskies, and how about those Huskies, and those types of things. So a great environment across the board. Like I was very lucky, I think, to be, involved with, a coach that had great passion. And, we brought in our freshman class was a very big class, might have been one of the biggest freshman classes of football players, that was ever brought into Bloomsburg. And, the guys that stayed for all of the years, it was just, a great run, because it wasn't just about the football. I mean, a year ago this summer, we're all down at Mike Glovis's house at his pool. There's about 20 of us, and, we're just laughing, having a good time. I mean, we could have been back at, one of our houses in Bloomsburg. And when you have those types of relationships, obviously it's very meaningful. To have the experience, and, Coach Landis, when he came to recruit me, he talked about, like, this is what the program could be, and that there was a vision for the program, and very enticed by that. And, to be able to accomplish that and have the plan come to fruition, it was just a, phenomenal experience. And it was great how everyone, was very much a part of that. Obviously we went through some tough times, with Vernon's injury, and, that's, I think a memory that'll stay with all of us, and, how, strong Coach Landis was for us. And, the week after we're playing Westchester, and, we're losing going into the fourth quarter, and, we find a way to get it done. And, we're all thinking about Vernon, about like, hey, his battle. And, it was like such an inspiration for us up until this day. There were a lot of things on the field, but then there was also, a lot of love and caring, and, people making a great commitment to the program that made, that a special time for us. And, very much one of the most, rewarding experiences for me. I mean, outside of, being a husband and father, that's one of the highlights of, of my life, of going through, and the relationships that I had, with those men. And then when I got hired as the head coach here, hey, within a couple of days, I'm down with Coach Landis. We're, sharing notes and sharing coffee. And, so it's sort of neat to be able to sustain those things.
And you yourself, you were a pretty good player on the field too, and inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 2007. What was that moment like for you?
Very surreal, Dave. Because, like, I look at myself as a humble person, and, you're there, and like my dinner table is Emmett Smith and Bruce Smith, and, Bobby Bowden's at the table next to you, and you're like, wow. There's definitely a wow factor there. But also, a great deal of pride, because, like, it wasn't about, Frank Sheptock. It was about, all of those teams, 82, 83, 84, 85, it's that group of guys that I was, fortunate enough to be, the one recognized. But, like, I looked at, like, I was representing them. So, like, because, like, the things that we had done here, and the amount of people that, made sacrifices and were working their tail off, was just a, a tremendous thing. And, obviously being in the College Football Hall of Fame is, a tremendous, life goal that, like you're thinking, hey, can it ever happen, for a Division II player. And Jimmy Hollister and I would always be kidding around, that like one of his greatest accomplishments was promoting me. So I would get the awards, and, he and I still laugh about that to this day. The relationships again, and then to go out there and say, hey, Bloomsburg is represented here in the College Football Hall of Fame, very humbling, and, definitely out of my wheelhouse where, they're picking you up in a limousine and you're doing those kind of things. And I'm thinking, well, wow, this is a whole different, and my girls were young then. So, hey, they had a great time, being out at Notre Dame. What a wonderful experience, but, felt extremely proud, to be representing Bloomsburg University. Be very proud to, represent what Bloomsburg was able to do through that, early to mid 80s run, and, get this, program, moving in a direction that, we were all very proud of, what it's become and what it is.
How would you describe your coaching philosophy, and who's had the most impact on your coaching style?
Like, I'm approaching it, Dave, like, hey, every day is 4th and inches. Let's go. We got to get it done. There's got to be a lot of intensity. Definitely felt that, we were process driven about certain things have to occur, for that success to occur. And like, definitely believe that, you got to put the time in and find people who want to put the time in and, connect with players. And I thought, as I talk about that a little bit, I'm going to relate it to the coaches, because that's what, like, Coach Landis was phenomenal, about connecting and how to push your buttons and those types of things. Because like, some of my most humbling things took place in Coach Landis's office. Like, our first spring, I walk in and like, he's like, hey, Frank, your spring was horrible. And I'm like, he didn't give me any chance to play. I mean, like, I was never in, and then, like, he'd move your name around on the depth chart. Like, he knew how to push your buttons, and then, and then also how to motivate you and, keep you moving in the right direction. And, so I thought he was, like, from a plan standpoint and connecting with people, he had a tremendous impact on, like, how I approach things. Admire. I mean, hey, he's a National Coach of the Year. On that staff, then, when I first became a head coach or a college coach, I was with Joe DeMelfi. Joe DeMelfi's the O-line coach, at that time. He was another person who was a National Coach of the Year. Now, Joe, again, great people person, and tying in all of the other aspects of being a head coach, of whether it's admissions or financial aid and alumni and fundraising and, how you're doing all of that. Phenomenal person from that standpoint. Feel blessed that he gave me the opportunity. I mean, he's the O-line coach. I'm a linebacker, and I'm just trying to connect with them. But again, one of those types of relationships that you felt, very good about. Lou Maranzana, like, I remember our Saturday mornings vividly of, was such a analytical, he's a Dartmouth guy. I mean, he's smarter than, like, I'll ever be, but, would be all about the analytics and like what we needed to do and the percentages. And like, I was into all of that. And I'm like, well, I'm fascinated, by, how much football I could learn, from this person. So, and then, like, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about Frankie Williams, because, like, Frankie Williams, like, taught, like, not just me, but like everybody wanted to be around Frankie Williams, because he was like the most intense, get after you, kick your tail. Like, everybody wanted, it was just like, we wanted to be like as intense and as cool as Frankie Williams was. And, just, gave our football team some personality, and they had that toughness. And, he was very quiet and Frank, I mean, like, like, he doesn't talk loud, and like, you had to listen in to, to even hear what he was saying, but like, you were so in tune to that. So I think that you learn a little bit from, everybody that you're blessed, to be around. And like, I was, we had a great staff, and, Kent Smeltz was a young coach at the time, doing some great things. And, you try to use a little bit about what you've learned from, from each of those great men and great coaches. And I think, if anything, Dave, that's the part that very much resonates, with my style about, like, connecting with people of that. Like, they made the player the most important thing. And then they found ways to motivate that player to take them where probably the player couldn't take themselves, and that's the part that, like, leadership and, interacting with people about trying to find ways that, you're consistent in your communication, and that belief is created in you that you could do anything. And when you start to get that vibe and that energy and that synergy together, a lot of great things could happen.
I don't normally single out student athletes on this show, but I think this young man merits plenty of recognition. Senior Alex Bandura was named to the very prestigious AFCA All-State Good Works team a few days ago for his efforts off the field. What's it like having someone in the program with his background and his character?
I tell you, you just watched a video, of when he was, serving our country in the Marines. And I mean, there's such a wow factor there, like the intensity of what he represents, mind-boggling, like, number one, what he's doing, and then the service that continues. So, to have a young man, who's, again, and I said this in the release about, like, hey, he's a family man, he's a community man, like, he's all about, the leadership part. And, Alex really understands the part of impacting others. And I think the part, like, when he was, first, going into the service, and he talked about in that video where it was a calling to him, something that he felt very compelled, to do. I think that has carried over to create him into the young man that he is today. Because, like, we have, leadership, we have somebody that's a strong individual, we have somebody that's willing to stand up for, what this great country stands for. And, and to have that type of impact in your locker room, in the weight room, somebody that, has instantaneous credibility, because of his experience, it's a great blessing that we have him in the program right now. And to be recognized on that team, Dave, like, and you and I understand it, but the Husky Nation, to be on that team, there's only 22 players of every college football team, all divisions, and to be selected to that, he's a special young man, and, very well deserved. And I shared this with you when, we were exchanging emails, but I'm calling him up to congratulate him, and he's, hustling me off the phone because he's like, Coach, I'm coaching at a youth practice right now. I'm running a drill. I'll call you back. It was just so poetic, that's what he was doing at the time of the announcement. I thought summarized, the situation couldn't be better. But extremely proud of him, and feel very lucky that I'm going to have the opportunity to coach him for, a little bit to go yet before his career ends. But he's done a great job here.
Finally, a lot of new faces, both on the roster and on the coaching staff this year. What can we expect from the Huskies when you take the field in 2021?
Well, hopefully a team that we all can be very proud of. And, like, when we talk about things of what we want to be known for, we want to be able to talk about that we're going to be a team that plays with relentless effort, and, that we go out there and, you're going to see a team that plays very hard and very physical, and, a team that has great passion, that we're having fun out there, and there's going to be that energy. And that when things are going well, that, we're excited about our teammates' success, so that team camaraderie and, that style that we're going to play with, that, that there's some electricity running through Redmond Stadium and Danny Hale Field, and, an exciting brand out there. And I think that's, sort of the three keys to success about, like, we talk about the brand of what does Bloomsburg football look like. Initially, we would want you to think about, wow, this team plays with great effort. These players have great energy, because everybody likes to coach high-energy players. Everybody likes to watch high-energy players, and, that's what we want to be known for. And then, we have that passion for the game, and then I think everything else, wins and things like that sort of start taking care of themselves, because, again, trying to be process-driven. But I think initially, as we try to address things, from a team unity standpoint. And, that's been one of my goals here, from the moment that I've walked onto campus, Dave, is, uniting, whether it's, like, whether you played for, Bob Redmond, or you played for, Danny Hale, or you played for George Landis, or you played for Paul Dara, or you played for Pete Adrian. Like, I want to bring all of Bloomsburg football together, unite it, Bloomsburg football family. When we're talking about our recruits or to our recruits, we're saying the Bloomsburg football family, all generations. It's like when the light strings are together, you don't care if they're from the 30s or the 40s, and that's how we want Bloomsburg University football to be. And hopefully we could start to, galvanize our alumni base and, create one of, a program of national prominence, but also where it's special to be part of that. And game day is special, in that stadium and on that field. That's hopefully what we see.
Well, if you bring that same passion and energy that you're bringing to this interview today, we're in for a treat in 2021. So, let's get to know Coach Sheptock a little bit more. Some of your favorite sports teams.
Growing up, I was a Cowboys guy in football. Tom Landry and the hat, and he was the ultimate professional. And I was a big Roger Staubach fan. So some of those teams growing up. I've always been an Orioles fan. So love being down in Camden Yards and Old Memorial Field. It's sort of, you talk about contrasting styles with Earl Weaver and Tom Landry. Those are the two big ones.
Any of sports roll-up?
When I was linebacking, I was a big Dick Butkus guy, and Jack Lambert. Definitely, thought they were, the type of player that you wanted to be. And as I was trying to, continue to play, definitely admired Mike Singletary, because there was a man who did extremely well for himself, and people were saying, hey, you couldn't do this and you couldn't do that. So admired who he was. And now it's grown a little bit from a coaching standpoint where, there's some great coaching icons that, you think about, hey, Vince Lombardi and, Woody Hayes and some of the, people that really, had a great impact on the game, and, Bill Cowher and, Bill Belichick and those types of guys that, definitely, Nick Saban, there's some great ones there that, you're just trying to, learn a little bit from, or, you're reading books and things like that, trying to steal, any little bit that you can.
Sitting down with the family some evening, what movie you popping in?
If it's a sports, well, I'm definitely a sports movie guy. So I'm love Miracle, Glory Road, those Remember the Titans, any of those like overcoming things. When I was younger, and here at Bloom, obviously I was a big Rocky fan because again, anything where you're, so we're definitely into the inspirational things. And then as I got, and you can appreciate this, as I got a little bit older, like Armageddon, because it reminds me of my daughters and things like that. And, when I was very young, my dad was a big John Wayne fan. And there was a movie called Big Jake that, still to this day, like it reminds me of my grandfather, who was somebody I love a lot, and, cared for. We spent a lot of time together. So, there's a couple things there, but if you went on my what's recorded there right now, you definitely have a lot of sports, overcome the odds and win the championship. That's my kind of sport movie.
Favorite food?
I'm a white fish guy, Dave. I could eat fish every day. Yeah,
totally.
Yeah, love it.
Any music you're into?
What's that, music?
Music, yep.
Ooh, well, yeah, I'm definitely a Bon Jovi guy. I like that. But there's definitely like if I'm cooking out back on the grill and, it's we just got done talking about football, there's going to be some headbanger music going or something like that. And
my kind of guy right there.
So I got a little bit of versatility there. That's why I've been talking with the guys. They've been talking about, hey, coach, we're going to have music at practice. I'm like, yeah, as long as I get to pick some of the music.
So if you could meet anyone, past or present, living or dead, who would it be and why?
Is this a fun question or like a...
You can do whatever you want with it.
Well, obviously, like some of the, sporting icons of, again, like, Vince Lombardi and, like Jim Valvano or, some of the great motivators, like that's always interested me to be around, like, how they're talk with them and how their mind works and, those types of things to create that train of thought where you're able to connect with people, and whether it would be a great general or a great coach, but those people in those, ultimate leadership positions where that you feel that you can learn something from. I think that would captivate me the most. If it was a fun thing, I'd probably say something like Ric Flair or something like that from, like I was a big WWE fan or something. So, being a man and walking the aisle and all those kind of things, like I'd be all about that. Like I'd take a couple hour conversation with Ric Flair and, so
I grew up watching.
I definitely have a menu there, Dave.
No question. And then finally, Coach, what's the best thing about Bloomsburg University?
You're going to find people here that believe in you. And again, like for me, that's what helps your life become better, because, people exude their belief in you, and, whether it's your coaches or your faculty members, or administrators, that when you're part of the campus and you engage yourself, that there's going to be an environment created where you have a lot of people believing in you. And when you have people believing in you, you can accomplish all your goals. And that's what I believe is the greatest thing about Bloomsburg University. You can accomplish all your goals because of the belief that the institution, and when you talk about the institution, you're really talking about the people in the institution, what they instill in you as a young man or a young woman.
Coach, tremendous job. Being a linebacker, you made a stop on 4th and inches. That's
well, very good. Let's go. We got the ball.
We're very excited to have you back here at Bloomsburg University, and looking forward to a fun and exciting spring season.
I tell you what, David, if it'd be neat if this was it's Thursday afternoon, we'd be getting ready. This would be Kutztown week, 4-0 traveling to Kutztown. You and I'd be like, hey, this is going to be a great weekend.
Let's do it.
So look forward to actually doing that with you. You do a great job, with promoting our sports and, being very involved, and, appreciate all the assistance that you've given me since my time back here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Coach. And like I said, great job. And we're very excited to see the product on the field here in a couple months.
Thanks. Go Huskies.
Head coach Frank Sheptock of the Bloomsburg University football team. Our thanks to Husky Nation for tuning in to Beyond the Bench. Join us again next week as we will visit with another Huskies head coach. We'd also like to thank again Honeysuckle Student Apartments for sponsoring today's episode. For information on everything Huskies, visit our website at buhuskies.com. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. I'm Dave Leisering. We'll see you again next week on Beyond the Bench. Have a great day, and go Huskies.